Hello, this is Miley Cyrus. Did you know that Mike's Daily Podcast is completely independently created and produced? I wish I could come up with a new dance that makes people say it over and over again and make me feel like I'm some kind of a whore. But I'm not, because I am a creative person and an artiste. You should listen to podcasts that are created by artistes. Because most podcasts aren't. They're done by, like, big networks and corporations, or they're just lifted off of radio stations. I hate that. My dad is Billy Ray Cyrus. He used to have a mullet. And did you know that the big-name podcast players like iTunes and Stitcher show only podcasts on their front page that pay for their advertising? They're paying for that position that's so, like, whorish. I'm not going to use that word anymore because I know it makes some people feel offended. Sorry. Hey! Support independent podcasters. That's what it says on this paper. Because I'm Miley freaking Cyrus. And this is Mike's Daily Podcast, independently produced. It's a show.
This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 810. Hello, it's Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on Earth, located somewhere in Podcaster Valley, California. Today, it's the return of the much-loved feature, the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA, where we look at some interesting recent news that'll educate and amaze. Plus, we hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster, and baking soda may have a purpose other than making anything I bake taste absolutely horrible.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
You know, I only like to eat out when there's good food and it's affordable.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I also like to spend my money on the thing that is called a domain name for my website. I like a dish of beef chow mein when I'm fighting the werewolves of London. Hey, it's Saturday, and I once knew a guy who was in that church with the saints from the latter day. And I just got an email from Anchor Brewing.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
There is something that's annoying, and that's when you get a canker sore when you're chewing.
Mike's
It's really
Daily
an ouch situation.
Podcast.
John Deere, the engineer,
Yeah!
on the last show revealed that he built missiles for Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, which we checked later, and he was mistaken. Oh, look who just walked in. Hi, Mike. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How y'all doing?
And it's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
That opening song was completely indecipherable.
But it was true. I do like domain names that I can afford when I eat out.
Still doesn't make any sense.
The domain... Well, recently I was told I should change my domain name because the word podcast supposedly doesn't test well. So it would be Mike's Daily Pod? I guess, podcast is such a revolting word. People don't like it. Look who else just walked in. Oh, right now.
Hello there, Mike. I am the Brewmaster. I make the root beer. Oh, boy. You heard from Anchor Brewing Company?
Yeah, they make the beer and they have free tours in San Francisco. You can go and have free beer there after a tour. But you have to book it in advance. Usually it's best, I think they only do it on weekdays. Yeah, so it's best if you can go like at 10 a.m. and drink their strong beer and be buzzing all day. So basically don't have anything else going on that day.
Mike, you said John Deere, the engineer, built missiles at Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville and whatnot. I really don't care, tell you what.
Well, yeah, but then he redacted the whole thing. He had like a Patrick Duffy-esque moment. So apparently he does have a pet rabbit, or he did, but it passed away. And hey, that's an Aerosmith song. Dun, dun, the rabbit done died. The sweet emotion.
Yeah, great song, and you're ruining it.
You're in the cartoon today for the podcast picture where we discuss the rain that's coming down here in the Bay Area right now.
Yeah, I do not really care about rain. I just think it washes all the leaves and the Burger King trash down into the gutter.
That's a beautiful, uplifting view. How do you deal with this day in and day out, Benita?
Mike,
He's wonderful. When we get home, he says nothing but positive things. It almost gets on my nerves. You don't like all the positive stuff? No. I kind of like this stuff he's saying. It's making me a little bit hot. Well, that's great. And last show I mentioned I could do push-ups with my pinky, which I have since tested that theory, and it's wrong. But you know what tests a lot of theories, and is just up the road from here in Podcastro Valley, Livermore. They have the big Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and they discovered something interesting about baking soda. Let's hear it for baking soda. This is what they found out, according to the register.co.uk. Yes, that's from England. A team of scientists believe they have made a significant advance capturing carbon dioxide with a little bit of help from baking soda. They developed microcapsules made up of a highly permeable polymer shell and a fluid composed of sodium carbonate solution to suck out carbon dioxide from coal or natural gas-fired power plants. The method, involving the first demonstration of its kind for controlled CO2 capture and release, can also apparently be used in industrial processes such as steel and cement production. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory has worked alongside with Harvard University and the University of Illinois to develop a carbon capture media containing core shell capsules. The aim, they say, of carbon capture is to prevent the release of large quantities of CO2, a greenhouse gas that traps heat and makes the planet warmer. That's a scientist saying that. So Fox News, don't go freaking out when I say that. Into the atmosphere from fossil fuel use in power generation and other industries. Yes, we use a lot of fossil fuels. However, currently used methods, while successful, can be harmful to the environment, it says. The ability to move away from caustic fluids such as monoethanolamine. Yeah, scary monoethanolamine. To capture CO2 to more environmentally benign ones like carbonates is a key attribute of the team's research. Using baking soda as the active chemical was a key development. Corrosives also is improved because the chemical is more benign and always is encapsulated. That sounds like that's cool if I could, figure out what that means. But yeah, so there you go. Wow. Right up the road here, Livermore, they figured that out. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the... Oh, yeah. So this was something that popped out. What do you think about this? I use YouTube for this show. And I upload this thing. I use Spreaker to upload the podcast to fit it on YouTube. Because this is an audio show, obviously. There's no video involved, thank God. Believe me, you'd be saying, thank God. That's why I use Spreaker. It uploads a video once I've created the show. Well, for some reason, Spreaker was telling me YouTube wasn't letting them upload it to YouTube. So I try and contact YouTube. I can't get a hold of anyone. You get this little box. You have to type your problem in. And then it says, once you send the box, it says, we may or may not contact you back. We may look at this, we may not, but it may end up helping people in the future. What kind of a weak explanation is that? That is so just unaccountable. Totally, they don't care. There's no accountability, and they don't want to contact you. They don't want to be bothered, basically. They don't want feedback, which is weird because I've seen so many websites and businesses on the internet want feedback, but these people don't care. I am afraid that in the next 10 years, as tech gets bigger and bigger, there will be less and less want for contact from the customers. What do you think about that? Email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. You can also email me there. My tongue just flew out of my face, did a lap around the last place on earth, came back. It's weird. And tell me if you'd like to be a guest on the show. You can email me at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, too. Speaking of sponsors, we have this.
And now, a big thanks to our sponsor.
Thank you, clickitticket.com, our sponsor. If you want to get concert tickets, sports events tickets, or theater tickets, clickitticket.com is where to go. You can Google it. And they also have a huge selection. You can Google it. You can Google anything. I don't know why I wrote that here, but they have a huge selection of tickets to any concert. Google. God, the Google got in my head again. Frick. Remember when a Google was something a baby did in its pants? You know, they call it that because they go goo-goo when they're doing it. They have a huge selection of tickets to any concert, game, or Broadway show anywhere. Well, the Broadway shows are in New York primarily, but concert games anywhere you're going to in North America. Who wrote this? Do you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm deleting this, so you will never hear this again. Gone. Okay, gone. Here we go. Click It Ticket has a large selection of tickets to the hottest concert tours this year, is basically what I'm saying, and that you can get a discount. Here it is. The big news. The discount. 5% off. That's a sizable chunk. 5%. With the promo code MIKES-DAILY. Okay, so you get a little discount there, and you can find that link right now at the top of MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Click it, ticket. And then also at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com, we have links to where to listen to the show in a myriad of places on iTunes. If you listen to us there, please comment on the show. That helps our ranking, and more people find out about us that way, as you heard at the beginning of the show, how it's difficult to be seen on iTunes or Stitcher, which we are also on. You can also hear us on SoundCloud, TuneIn. We're on TuneIn now. It's an app you can have on your phone, listen to radio stations and stuff. You can also listen to podcasts. There's also Podomatic, Mixcloud, and Spreaker where you can hear us, and share the show with your friends on Facebook. We have the Facebook page. Like the Facebook page when I post a new show. Share it with your friends, and more people find out about us that way too. You can also follow us on Twitter. We're on Instagram, Yelp, and Tumblr. Also support the show through the Amazon link. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, go through the link at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com, and that helps us out. And we got the blog, the Daily Podcast picture, and all the past interviews are there at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
The MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA.
Welcome to the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA, where we look at some interesting stories within this book of facts and the figures. Interesting figures. Look at this figure. It looks kind of like a pear. What's wrong with pears? Are you afraid of pears? How about of pears? Are you afraid of... So anyway, yeah, here's some interesting recent news stories for you that kind of have to do with what's going on in our culture and our world today. But first, we look at names.
Tired song keeps playing on a tired radio, and I won't tell no one your name.
So, there's a small business shop, ISIS Bridal and Formal, and it shares a name, of course, with ISIS, the acronym of the notorious Islamic militant group that the United States is fighting in Iraq and Syria. And the owner of the shop wants to rename this Southern California store to avoid any confusion with the group sometimes called Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. ISIS is part of more than 270 product, service, or business names, according to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. But businesses are not required to register their name, so it is difficult to say how many companies use the word Isis, which is also the name, of course, of an Egyptian and pagan goddess. This according to sfchronicle.com and sfgate.com. For those companies, the ISIS name can be damaging. Branding experts say an unfortunate association with a name can scar a company's reputation, even if the connection is coincidental. Take Isis Collections, Inc., a New Jersey company that makes weaves, wigs, and hair pieces. CEO Philip Shin says stores have told him that customers will put his company's product back on the shelf after noticing the Isis label. He says it's so stressful, and he notes that he has spent 20 years building the company's reputation. He says, I've lost all the benefit of the